Okay, so for the first design video, I decided that I was going to start off with something that seems somewhat tricky, but in reality, I promise it's not. So what we're going to first start off doing is designing this ON30 scale, but feel free to modify the dimensions to your needs. Little curved exhaust unit that can be used on a Bachmann Davenport. And you'll also notice that I've done some detailing here with the strap and the hex nuts. You don't have to go that far if you don't want to, but I decided we might as well for those who want to. So let's just focus on designing up just the basic curved shape of the little exhaust pipe right here, the muffler body, and then the exhaust stack. So in a new window in Fusion 360, what we can do is we can start drawing the parts up. So right now you'll see there's nothing on the screen. I'm going to come over to the left here and click on the light bulb where it says origin, and you'll notice that this pops up. This is also oriented with this, which is what's called the view cube. So for this, we're going to want to click on the side of the view cube that says front. We're going to want to select line. You can either go to the sketch tab here and click line, or you'll notice there's a hotkey L. Either works just fine. Click on that, and then we're going to want to select the plane that is facing us, the blue vertical, red horizontal, which will then give us the front plane, and we can get started. So we're going to select that. And you'll notice that we can really start anywhere, but for this we're going to need to start on the origin. So when you drag your cursor over it, you'll notice a green box and it will lock there. That's what you want. So just click once with the left mouse button and pull it over. In this case, I'm going to go 0.125 inches because we're going to be drawing half the diameter of the exhaust unit, and I figured 1/4 of an inch works out to a nice size. So for all the dimensions on this, you're going to want to do it half of the actual size. For the radius, the height stays the same. So then once you've typed in 0.125, click again, and you now have your horizontal line. Now you'll notice you're still attached in with a line. That's what we want. So now we're going to rotate it up so we get that little green box. And on the right, it should say 90 degrees as well. If it doesn't, and it's out here and you can't get that, just press the tab key once and you'll notice the degree side light up, and you can push in 0 and it'll take you to 0 degrees, or you can do 90 and it'll take you there. In this case, we're going to want to go negative, going to want to go 270, there we go, as it's doing the 90s relative to where it was. So just remember to break up a circle into fourths, or you can just rotate around till you get there. So for the height, I'm going to go 0.375. If you don't like anything, you can just double click on the dimension and you're good. To get out of the line command, just tap the escape key and it will take you out. So using the L again, I'm going to activate the line. I'm going to hover over the point and turn green, and then move in 0.125 inches, making sure that we're at 0 degrees, so we're horizontal. And you'll notice that takes us back to the middle, which in this case we don't want, so we're going to want to retype that as 0.0625, and we're going to go halfway in, hit enter, press L again, and come up. In this case, I'm going to go 0.25. Like I've said, the dimensions, you do what you like best. There's no real right or wrong to this, but when you're first starting, I say start with what I'm doing. So now I'm going to click on the end of the 0.25 line, and I'm going to go in 0.0625 inches, hit enter, and then I'm just going to press L, and I'm going to click on the top of that line, drag it down to the origin, and now you'll see that the part has turned pink and is highlighted. We'll press escape to get out of that, And in effect, we've pretty much created the basic shape of our muffler. So one thing that we do need to do is we need to press the D key. This is for dimension. And you'll notice this little line comes up. We're going to want to select this vertical line and this vertical line and hit enter. That way, in case we need to adjust anything, we can do so. So I'm liking how that's looking, so I'm going to come up to the right hand corner and click on Stop Sketch. Don't worry, if you need to go back and adjust anything, you can just come down here to the timeline, right click on the drawing and press Edit Sketch, scroll in with your middle mouse wheel, and you're good to go. So I'm just going to stop the sketch, zoom in so we can see what we're doing. Then I'm going to go to the Create tab, and we're going to do what's called a revolve. This, as you can see from the drawing, allows you to take a profile and spin it around an axis. So we're going to press revolve. The profile we're just going to click inside of our shape here. So we're going to click there. Then the axis, we can either select the vertical one that's here. Ideally you'd want the blue one, but we can't access that, so we're just going to click this large vertical edge next to the origin. Click that and you'll see it spun the shape around. If we wanted to, we could break it up into 90 degrees. We could go 180. You can do a lot of stuff with this, but we want a full circle, so we're going to go 360 and hit OK. Just ignore the one side and new body. That doesn't matter at this point. Click OK. And effectively, we've created the basic shape of our exhaust unit. So if you come back here, you can see this one's a little bit longer. I decided to make this one a little bit stubbier. You know, I'm pretty much making up the dimensions as I go, and that's perfectly fine because we can always adjust it. So now we need to make this curved unit right here on the exhaust. So we can come into the drawing and we can press the L button. We're going to want to select the same plane that we used before, the blue vertical, red horizontal. And this is where things are going to get a little bit interesting, so I'm going to go a little bit slower for your guys' sake. So I'm going to click on the origin right there. I'm going to drag over 0.1875, hit enter, hit L again, click on the end, come down 0.1875, hit enter. But now we're going to do something a little bit different. You can see how these lines are purple. We don't want that. So holding down the Shift key, I'm going to click on the first line and the second line, and you'll notice how they went blue. Then while they're still highlighted, I have my finger off Shift now. I'm going to press the X key and click away, and you'll see that they've now turned into orange dotted lines. These are what are called construction lines. So Fusion 360 will view these as lines that are usable, but at the same time, they're not going to show up if you go to do any profile work or anything like that. It will not select them as an active line to use, which is what we want. So now we can go to the Sketch tab and go to Circle, and we want center diameter, or you could just press the C key. Either way is fine, so we're going to click on that. And then at the intersection of our two lines, we're going to want to click right there and drag to either point. Because they're equidistant, it does not matter. So you'll notice the green box at the end. That means that we've got the snapping point right there. We can click. Then we can press Escape to get out of circle mode. And we've created a circle, but we don't need the circle this big. So we can go back to the Sketch tab and go down to the Trim function, or you can press the T key. And you're going to want to click anywhere out here on the circle. And if you're not sure, hover your cursor over it, and what's in red gets cut, what's in blue stays. So we can trim the outside of the circle and ignore the warning that pops up. It just means that original stuff that was there got deleted. It's no big deal for this application. And you'll notice that we now have this nice little segment right here, which we want. So we can press Stop Sketch, and then holding down the Shift key and clicking down on our middle mouse wheel, we can move around the part. So we're going to come into a view like this, scroll in with the middle mouse wheel. Now pressing the C key for circle, we can select the bottom face of our cylinder right here. Zoom on in, and I'm going to want to do a 0.125 diameter circle as well. Hit enter, stop sketch, and now you'll understand why in just a second why we wanted to trim the circle to where it's at. So going over to the Create tab, this time we're going to use the Sweep function. Now this allows you to take a shape and move it along a path. So we're going to select Sweep, and all we need to do is go Profile, which is the inside of the circle, the Path, which is the purple part, and ignore the distance, taper angle, twist angle, perpendicular. Do make sure though that the operation does not say New Body. We want it to say Join. Hit OK, and bingo. We have just created our curved segment. So we can click off the origin at this point as we don't really need it. It's actually becoming a little bit annoying. And now we can focus on creating the detail mounting tabs here. I will save doing the detail brackets until later, but just to show you guys how to design the basic parts for now. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move to the top view on the view cube, and you'll notice that we have this circle and we have that circle. We're going to want to work off of this plane starting out. So make sure that this is the one that you select. So press L for line, ignore the origin that pops up, and click on the top of the larger circle, like so. And now we are in the top plane. Now we need to create a rectangular shape that runs from here to there. So there's a couple ways to do it, and I found the easiest one that works is to just click on the center, drag your cursor over to the edge, and don't worry if it's not perfectly 90 degrees. It's a little bit tricky to do. So just tab over to the degrees side and type in 90, hit enter, then press the L key again, come over to here and repeat the process. 90, enter. Perfect. Now we can go L, we can drag a line out. Now we're actually going to want to rotate the line so we can pick up the edge of this, and we can drag out. Alternatively, we could, if we know the distance, we can go 0.1875 in this case and press enter. Do the same on the bottom. Go out 0.1875, hit enter. Then we're going to press L again. We're going to start here and we're going to join to there. Now, one thing you will notice is obviously there's this shape and there's this line here. We're not going to keep those lines. We're just going to come along and use the arc function. Go to arc, 3-point arc, point, point, and then we're just going to drag it out until it snaps to the existing circle. Click there, hit escape, and then we can shift select those two lines and we can just delete them. We don't need them anymore. That works perfectly fine. Now that we have the basic shape done, we can now take and drag this shape, which is also called extruding. So I'm going to go to stop sketch. I'm going to pan around and I'm going to go into the sketch tab and oops, I'm going to go into the create tab, my bad, and we're going to use extrude. You can also press the E hotkey if you want. So we're going to select extrude and we just want to extrude this shape, and in my case I want to go down, so I'm going to go minus 0.04. Now one thing that we do want to do here is we want to go into the operation tab and make it a new body. So what that means is this is not attached to this, and you'll see why in a minute. Doing that actually makes life a little bit easier in my opinion. So I'm going to press the OK button and we now have this new component. If you want to double check, go over to the bodies tab here, click the arrow so it goes down, and you can highlight the different bodies that are there. You can turn them on and off, useful things like that. So now we can go to the Modify tab and move down to Move Copy, or you can use the M key. Select this body, and we're going to want to use the point-to-point function. So our origin point, we're just going to use that curve there, and our target point, we're going to want to use that there. And before we go any further, you're going to want to click the Create Copy button. That is critical. So reselect target point, select right there, and you'll notice that it's now copied this shape here down to there. Hit OK, and now you very quickly copied your parts down. Now if you go to try and export this file as is, Fusion 360 will view it as this body, that body, and that body, and it will not export all three at once, which is what you want. So you're going to want to go back to the Modify tab, move down to the Combine function, and the order that you select things does not matter. So I'm just going to select the main body first as our target body, then our tool bodies are the separate parts, that would be the two tabs, and we're going to hit OK. Now Fusion 360 sees it as one whole object, which is what we want. Also, I'm going to save this because I'm really stupid and I did not do that. My phone keeps going off like crazy. Okay, so that's how you get the basic shape done. Now for those who really want to take things up a notch here with their model, I'm going to show you guys how to go about adding the detail strip with the rivets on the side. Again, this is definitely a case of everybody's going to want to have different dimensions, so I would ideally follow along for the first time, and then feel free to do whatever the heck you want for everything else after. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to press the C key for circle, and it does not matter if we select the top or the bottom. I would recommend the top though, as you won't have the angled pipe potentially in your way. So we're going to want to select the top plane. We're going to want to make a circle from our origin out to the edge. We're going to press the T key to trim, and we're going to get rid of this half right here. We don't need that. So we're going to select that. Then we're going to hold down with our middle mouse wheel so we can move along. We're going to press L for line. We're going to click there. And we're going to move over to the halfway point of this right here. You'll know you've hit halfway when it pauses and you see that little green triangle. So click there. Do the same for the other side, like that. Now we could draw everything and go from there, but we're going to use the offset command to make our life easier. So we're going to press the O key on the keyboard. We're going to make sure that we have chain selection turned on, so it should view everything. I wonder why it's not. Should have viewed everything as one item. Not sure why it didn't, but just click as needed. Now we don't want to offset towards the inside, we want to do it towards the outside. So you can use the slider to move it in the right direction to figure out which units you need. Now I'm going to make this bracket 0.02 inches, which is just about 0.5 millimeter thick. It's going to print, it's going to be visible, but it's not going to be overly thick. So with that done, we're going to want to press the L for the line key, click here and click there, and click here and click there, and you'll notice that we have that highlighted shape again, which is what we want. So now we can stop sketch and zoom in, and we can press the E key to extrude. We're going to want to select the inside of here. Now this is a handy tip if you're not sure how thick something needs to be. Go to the extent function and click to object. Now the object that we want is this corner right here. Click that, but before you hit OK or enter, go to operation and tell it you want to make it a new body. This way we can do the copy function that we did before, and it makes your life easier. So we can hit OK. And now that we have our tab there, we can come along and add the hex bolts or rivets I will show you guys how to do both in this video. Pick whichever one you want. So we're going to press the L key for line, and we're going to want to select this little rectangle here on the part we just made. So we're going to click on that, zoom in, go from the center to the center, and escape out. Then we're going to highlight that line, and we're going to hit X to make it a construction line, so we can use this as a halfway reference, but it will not get in the way. So the first and easiest to make is a rivet. So just press the C key for a circle and just choose an arbitrary distance from the edge. We're going to define that in a minute. So I'm just going to click there. I'm going to make it 0.02. Hit enter, hit enter. Then while we're still active in the sketch plane, I'm going to press D for dimension. Click here and then click to this edge right here. And I'm going to want to go 0.025 inches in. I'm eyeballing it. If I don't like it, I can just double click it and I can go 0.02. I like that better. I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to click stop sketch, E to extrude, select this. Then I'm going to want to go out 0.01 inches, but I don't want to join it. I want to make a new body. Hit OK. Then I'm going to press the F key to fill it. I'm going to select the outer edge right here. And I'm going to tell it I want a 0.01 radius fillet. You'll see that it's rounded it over. I'm going to press OK. And that's how you can create a fillet that makes a rivet very easily. Now we're going to go back, and I personally prefer bolts on mine, so I'm just going to click fillet and delete. You don't have to do that. I'm just going to delete those two functions, but I'm going to keep the original sketch to save myself a little bit of time. I'm going to delete the circle because I don't want that. I'm going to go into sketch. I'm going to go to polygon, and I like to use an inscribed polygon. You can use a circumscribed. It depends upon what you're trying to do, but in this application, inscribed works better. So I'm just going to click that, click on the line again, and I'm going to go out 0.015. Now, here's a fun thing that you can do, and I highly recommend doing this, especially if you're doing a large scale model, is vary the angle of the bolts. In this case, I'm going to make one like that. You go to 0.015, hit enter. Then I'm going to press the D key for dimension, click here, click on the edge, and go 0.2, hit enter. Do the same on the other side. And I've created my two bolts, and you'll notice they are at different angles. You don't have to do that, but I figure if you're going to take the time to design in the detail bracket, it's not a bad idea to add in little features like that, especially if it's a larger scale model where you're going to see that stuff. So we can press stop sketch, and you'll notice we can't see the sketch right now, but if we go to the sketches tab, click on the arrow and hover over the last one, you'll see the polygons come up, and we can click the light bulb to turn that on. Press E to extrude, drag this guy and that guy out, and I'm going to pull them out 0.01, and as before, I'm going to make it a new body. Hit OK, turn that off because we don't need it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Create tab, and I'm going to use the mirror function. This is really helpful in applications like this because now I can just go mirror. I can select my two bolt heads. I can turn on my origin by clicking on the light bulb. Then for the mirror plane, I'm going to want to use the blue vertical, red horizontal. And if you're not sure, you can click on it, and if it's not right, you can just delete it there. But you'll notice a ghost of the hex bolts right there, which is what we want. We're going to press OK. Go to the Create tab, the Modify tab, Combine. We're going to want to combine the strip here and our 4 newly made bolts. Hit OK. Now this is all one component. and this is all one component. And like we did with these, we can just do a move copy. So I'm going to press M. I'm going to select this body here. I'm going to select this outer edge of the part as my 0. Don't forget to click create copy. Click down there. That looks good. Hit OK. Then we can go back to the modify tab, do a combine this guy, and that guy. Hit OK. And we can just turn off origin because we don't need it. We can close sketches because we don't need it. And that is how you make an ON30 or really any scale little exhaust unit. Now, to give you guys an idea of actual design time, this one right here took me no more than 6 minutes to pull off. And I only say that to make you guys realize that once you know what you're doing, little detail parts like this are not that hard to pull off. When you're trying to do a demonstration, you have to go much slower, so don't feel flustered if it feels like it took you half an hour to get to this point. That's normal. You're learning. Once you know all these little tricks, it's like, oh, okay, I just do this, I do that, I do that, and it makes more sense. So for the final bit, I'm going to show you guys how to export the file so you can then take it and send it off to either your 3D printer, a friend's 3D printer, or an online 3D printing service, whatever it may be. So I'm just going to save again for good measure. Hit OK. Then I'm going to go to the File tab here and scroll down to 3D Print. Click on that, and we want body 1, which is this guy. And for a model like this, a medium refinement is fine. For output, we don't want that, so we're just going to unclick, and we can press OK. It'll ask us where we want to save it. I'm just saving it to my desktop. So I'm going to go ON30 Critter Exhaust Demo. Hit save. And we've exported the file. Now do note this one has been modeled in inches as its native units. So when you take it to a 3D printing service, you're going to want to select inches as the units. If you designed it in millimeters, you're fine. Not fully sure why millimeters is the standard for 3D prints, but just so that way you don't load it in there and the software instantly rejects it and goes, model is too tiny. Sorry, no can do. So I hope you guys found this interesting and informative, and if you have any comments, please leave them down below. It's a little bit tricky for me at first to get in the swing of talking to the computer, thinking out loud, and doing things like that, but I hope you guys found this useful. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I'll try and do my best to address them. See you guys later.